We all love movies here, and we know these lists tend to go. Note, first off, I'm not saying these are necessarily the best quality movies, but these are the ones I enjoyed the most, and while I saw a ton, I didn't see everything. These are the ones I found the most memorable and kept me talking about them afterwards. Number 10, Snowden, was the latest Oliver Stone movie, and it spent most of his time not actually on Snowden's leak, but on his experience in the NSA that made him want to make the leak. And in that it really succeeds, and regardless of the moral situation on why he did it, the movie makes it really clear that he was really bothered by it, especially because his bosses were listening to him and spying on his girlfriend. And beyond that, it was mostly real, and showed some of the creepy actual spy tech they were using, and that made the movie really stay with me. Number 9. Okay, I may be committing YouTube suicide with this, but here we go. Gods of Egypt was not a very divisive movie. Everyone hated it. But somehow, I really enjoyed it. As IGN said in their review, it fully commits. This movie isn't the kind of movie we get anymore. It's at least trying to be a heartfelt epic. These characters are forced to make some really hard decisions. And while the dialogue and acting are cheesy, I at least got really invested in the characters and cared about their plight. And then some of the visuals are messy, the worlds feel huge and fairly unique, from showing the underworld to the land around Egypt to somehow their whole world being flat. But it's an enjoyable blockbuster that we don't get nowadays because it's not gritty or sarcastic. And of course, a big reason I personally like the movie is because everyone else hates it. It makes it a lot more fun to like, especially because it's dumb and cheesy. And dumb and cheesy can be really enjoyable. Number 8. Nocturnal Animals is intriguing. It's horrifying. I don't want to spoil too much since that's really part of the intrigue, but it's especially relevant this year since it explores a huge chasm between the high art city elites and the backcountry rural folk. It's a strong, unsettling movie. I highly suggest it. Number 7. Another movie you might all hate me for putting on here, but Rogue One. Definitely a flawed movie, but the fun of the last 40 minutes, and especially the last 2 minutes, definitely earned it a spot on this list. Though of course it's a shame that they made a Star Wars movie that couldn't even crack the top 6. Number 6, Doctor Strange. I absolutely loved. It ticked off all the check marks for me between Marvel and a jerk main character and having a finale that wasn't just a big fight and having time travel. But also I really enjoyed the creative fights, both in the Inception-esque city-bending chases, the hospital scene, and the final time going in reverse fight. But overall, a fairly generic, predictable story kept it from being a brilliant movie. It's still really strong. Number 5, Hardcore Henry was one of the more interesting movies this year too. The plot is off the walls and crazy, but because it's all from the first person, it's really interesting to try to figure it out alongside the main character. As well as having some of the best action of the year because of the first person stuff too. And also the first person makes the little scenes way more interesting than they normally would be in this kind of movie. Though of course it was a lot better on the big screen with surround sound, but regardless, it's a really interesting different action movie. Number 4. Speaking of different movies, Deadpool's take on the superhero genre was interesting. And while the plot was bland, the main character and the little moments and the humor were also fresh and fun that we barely noticed. I loved the silliness and the dark humor of Deadpool, and definitely will remember it. Number 3, the movie that everyone who saw it loved, but few people actually saw, Kubo. On paper, it's just another straightforward hero's journey movie, but something about it, maybe the visuals or the voice acting or the parts of the hero's journey that it chose to focus on, or that it's actually really creepy, elevated this movie above the rest. The animation is awesome too, and just, if you like animation or Lord of the Rings Legend of Zelda type movie, watch this right now. Number 2, Hacksaw Ridge was really good. Having a medic on the battlefield really played differently for a movie, and the pacing never gets mulled down by the action like some war movies do. They also play a lot of the war scenes like it's a horror movie, which works brilliantly since that's probably what it would feel like to deal with ambushes and stuff. Even before the war though, when it's the conflict with the officers because he doesn't want to kill anyone or even touch a gun, was an intense and strong part of the movie, and it would be great even if it ended there, alongside it being actually really funny at parts. And before number 1, a couple of good movies that couldn't make it onto the list.
See the line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me.
Number 1, if you haven't seen it yet, Uno the Movie, the highest rated comedy at IMDb, and a brilliant redefining of cinema. And obviously I'm joking, it's the one that hasn't been on this list, Civil War. Not only having incredible acting, incredible action, and solid character motivations, it deepened the lore and gave fodder for us to debate for hours on end. Also, what's interesting is, it's the highest grossing movie of the year, even though it's fairly serious and it's a ton of talking. The last few years, we've had Force Awakens, Jurassic World, Age of Extinction, and Frozen take the top spot of each year. which are all fairly lighthearted throughout. Civil War is funny when it needs to be, but also dark and surprising. And explores right and wrong and what to value, which to me is one of the major things I look for in a movie. It's actually a challenging watch every time. It's my movie of the year for sure.
We try to save as many people as we can. Sometimes it doesn't mean everybody.
Tell me what you guys thought. What were your favorite movies of the year? Did you guys hate Civil War or love Gods of Egypt? Also, got anything else you want me to make a video on? Tell me in the comments. Oh, and if you're new, be sure to subscribe.